Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I am so glad you are here with me. My name is Carrie Dahle, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and motivator. And I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, you have come to the right place. I will share with you tools, resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have all helped me achieve the life of my dreams. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Welcome back to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. This is a place where we dive deep into the tools and strategies and all the things that help you live a thriving life. I'm Carrie Dahle, your host, and today we're talking about something that I believe is both a challenge and also an opportunity for us all, and one that, quite frankly, is challenging. And that is the art of starting again. Yeah, I said it. The art of starting again. And the reason I say it that way is because it really is, it's a practice. It's a design. It's a way of doing things that allows you to start again without being harsh or without being critical or judgmental of yourself. So, whether you've hit a snag in your personal goals, or you're feeling like your professional life needs a refresh, or you're just sensing that it's time to change, then this episode's for you. I want to start today with a story. Years ago, I found myself going through my divorce, being completely burnt out, juggling life and being a mom and career choices. And quite honestly, I watched my health go on this downward spiral. And honestly, my heart just wasn't into anything I was doing. I felt so lost and so far from the path that I knew I should be on. And I didn't even realize it until I hit that bottom. I didn't realize until I just collapsed in bed one day and was exhausted beyond belief that I needed to make a change. And then that was my wake up. It was flopping down on the bed after putting, at the time, my little boys to sleep and realizing that I needed to start again. I needed to remind myself of the things that I wanted. I needed to remind myself of where I was going, and I needed to do it all with purpose and excitement and not just out of doing everything, right? Not just out of doing the tasks. And it was a great moment where I had to seriously look at myself in the mirror and ask myself, is this the life I set out to live? And I remember that time. I remember very distinctly kind of like waking up out of this haze, waking up out of this fog of just go, 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 and saying, what is it I want? Carrie, what is it you want to do? And that's when it hit me. I just needed to start again. Not go back, because going back wasn't an option, but to start anew from where I was. And I have to tell you, it was a little terrifying. But it was also exhilarating all at one time, because I knew that I was finally at a point where I no longer had to just be doing the things. I could realign my intention. I could realign my goals. I could realign my dreams, and then repurpose myself, right? Refocus myself towards going to something new. And I was thinking about all this just the other day. Because sure, this last few years, I have done a lot of things. I've accomplished a lot of goals and a lot of dreams, and I've manifested a lot of wonderful things into my life. But there are things on my goals list that I have fallen away from. There are things that I have wanted to do or intend to do and just don't get them done. And one of those is I love to run. I really do. I love being outside when the weather is good. I love how I feel after a run. I love how my thoughts quiet because I'm focused on my breath and I'm focused on the footsteps, and I'm just focused on the rhythm that goes along with running. And I love what it does for me. But I have found that this past year really, that I've fallen away from that, even though it is on my list of things to do on a regular basis. I don't make the time. I find myself too busy. I find myself trying to do too many things, or maybe not too many things, but I find myself doing things that I've said yes to instead of doing the things that I want to do. So for me, while I'm talking about the past and I'm talking about the current and I'm talking about the fact that there's an art to starting again, I'm sharing all this with you because I too right now need to start again. I need to reset and refocus and push forward in a new way that allows me to, quite frankly, start again. So again, we're not going to go backwards, right? When I say start again, I don't mean going back to where you were in the beginning, because that's not an option. You can't go back a year. You can't go back 5 years. You can't go back however long it is that you have been trying to do whatever this thing is for you. I can't go back to last year, but I can start anew from where I am right now. Right now. And that brings me to the first major point, which when you are starting over, you need to understand the cycles of progress and setbacks. See, life isn't like this linear line. It's really full of so many ups and downs and so many successes and setbacks, and they're all okay. In fact, they're all totally normal. But what's crucial is recognizing that these setbacks aren't the end of the road. They're just signposts. They're just a sign that's telling you it's time to pivot. It's time to learn. It's time to grow. So for me currently, right, what is this cycle that I'm in? The cycle is not prioritizing. The cycle is saying to myself, I want to go for a run, or I want to do that a few times this week, or I'm going to do this race this year or whatnot, but then not prioritizing it, not making it something that is more important than the other things. And the reality of it is, for me to break this cycle, I have to do that. I have to choose it. I have to say to myself that running is just as important as running my business. It's just as important as this podcast. It is equally important in my day. And that's the cycle that I have to recognize that I'm in. That is the cycle that I have to stop and reset. So I'm going to look at that sign, the sign looking at me right now that says I'm missing out on something that's important to me. And I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to grow. Which leads me to the importance of recognizing when you're off track. Sometimes it's obvious, right? Sometimes you have a goal in mind that you are just not achieving. And it could be work, it could be health, it could be whatever. But it's just pretty clear because you're just not getting anything done. Like, for example, if I were not making progress with the book I'm writing, then it would be obvious to me that I've not made progress. But in this case, it's a little less obvious. It's more, I haven't necessarily set a specific thing that I'm going to accomplish running. I just know that it's something I enjoy. I know it's something that's good for me. I know it's something that I need to do for myself. But because I haven't attached it to a specific outcome, I find it not so obvious, right? I didn't recognize that I was getting off track. The signs weren't quite so clear, right? But there were these other signs, like being dissatisfied or not feeling like I was taking care of myself, or just feeling a little off, or like I was just going through the motions. And so recognizing that these signs are also signposts is really important. And recognizing these signs early can be the difference between a minor detour and a major derailment. And in my case, I almost feel like I've been majorly derailed. I have not taken the time to take care of myself that way and to give myself that mental break and to physically be just getting that blood pumping in me. And in that way, sure, I've gone for a walk. Sure, I've done other things, yoga, whatnot, but running really, really just gives me a feeling of achievement all the way around. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something, and I feel rewarded by it. Now let's talk about action or strategies for resetting and refocusing. And I would say you first need to reflect. I mean, it's kind of like we talk about beginning of the year resetting. You have to reflect. You have to always look at yourself and ask yourself what's working, what's not, and be brutally honest with yourself, because growth starts with truth. So for me in all of this, and we'll talk about the running because I'm just going to keep using that, and maybe you can relate, maybe you can't, but attach it to whatever moment in your life that you feel like you need to restart up. But for me, when I ask myself what's working, I would say I would have to actually answer what's not working first. And what's not working is I allow time. I allow lack of time, maybe is a better way of saying it. I hate the winter months when it's so dark early and so dark late into the day, because I feel like I lose hours of my day. Because when it's dark, I don't have the motivation. And I'm not going to go outside and go for a run when it's dark. We live in an area with a lot of wildlife, and that just makes me uncomfortable. So I'm not going to do that. So I've allowed myself to move away from that and make that an excuse, which is funny because I have this treadmill down in my gym that I could easily get on, and I've just allowed the darkness to be an excuse. So the other thing that I can say that doesn't work for me is the weather. But again, I have a treadmill. I have a treadmill inside my house. So if I just made it a priority, if I just said, no matter what, I've got to do it and I've got to make the time, then what would that change for me? And quite honestly, if I self-reflect on that, I bet I could find an excuse. But you know what does work? What does work for me is giving me a goal, right? I said in the beginning that I let this fall behind because I didn't have something I was working towards. It was just for me. And I have a hard time prioritizing those kind of things. I have a hard time not allowing other events, other priorities to get in the way when I shouldn't, when I should prioritize myself. But what I do know about myself is if I commit to a specific goal. So in this case, if I commit to running a race that I haven't run in a couple years, which will happen in July, if I commit to that, then it will become a priority, because that commitment is almost like an embarrassment if I don't do it. It's me saying to the world, to saying to my friends, to saying to people around me, I'm going to do this. And if I don't start doing the things I need to do now, if I don't start building my time up with running, if I don't start getting myself back into better shape, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I don't want to be embarrassed. So the thing that's going to work for me, the thing that I know that will get me going again is by setting that goal. So that's what I'm doing. I am putting that out there to the world. I am sharing with all of you that I'm running that race in July, and that's what it is. And so I've got to get off my butt and get going on it. So what is it for you? What is it that you need to be brutally honest with yourself about to get you started again? Sit down, write it out, and be truthful. Think about it. It's hard. It's embarrassing. It's also motivating, because when you are truthful, you can get clear, and then that lets you move into the next part, right? Where you can realign, or as we talk about, recalibrate. So you can revisit your goals and put a spin on them that's going to work for you. I mean, assuming that goal is still serving you. If it's not, then let it go. let it go, because if it's not serving you, it's not the thing that you need to be resetting and moving forward on. But if it is something that you want, if it is something that does serve you well, then it's time to light that fire. It's time to give yourself a reason to do it. So pick your race that you're going to run. Pick that time commitment. Pick that goal that aligns with the thing you want to hit. Set a timeline. Give yourself a period of time that you have to get it done in. Don't just leave it open-ended. And then, unlike our end of our year, triple R's, I would say the next thing is you have to re-engage, right? You have to break these goals down into achievable steps. What can you do today? What can you do this week? What's going to keep your momentum going? What consistent small actions can you take to achieve this thing? You know, if in my case it's running, well, I know that I've got about 12 weeks before this race. And that means that I have to make a commitment to run 3 or 4 times a week, and I have to make a commitment to each run, make it longer and more consistent of running. Because when I've gone a year of being very sporadic about getting out and walking and or running, there's no way that I can go run a 10K tomorrow. I need to build up to it. I need to build my stamina up to it. I need to build my strength back up to it. I need to recommit myself to it. And I'm going to set goals every single week that I can achieve to move me closer to that. This isn't about failing, because you haven't failed. You've just gotten off track. I mean, I'm sure that you have those friends that you have heard their inspirational success stories from. You know, it could be your friend Alex, who spent decades in an unfulfilling job and then decided to go back to school and start again. Or maybe it was Maya, who, after having a really rough divorce, reinvents herself in her 40s and then finds love and a new career path and a new joy in life. Think about those stories of friends or loved ones, or just people you don't even know that you've just read about. Think about those stories and how they remind us it's never too late to pivot. It's never too late to pursue a life that feels true to who you are. I'm going to say all that because sometimes when we go off track, we can be so harsh on ourselves. We can be so critical and talk down about all the things that we've actually failed at, instead of seeing all the good, instead of seeing all the things you have accomplished. But it's much easier to look at somebody else, right? It's much easier to say, oh, you know, Maya, gosh, she just had like the roughest year of her life, but now look at her. Look at how amazing she's doing. So turn to those inspirational stories. Turn to those as your motivation, as your reason, as your, I can do that too. Look at it and say, she did it, I can do it. He's doing it, they can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. And just create that excitement in yourself again. Because I promise you, no matter how far you've strayed off the path you want to be on, you can get right back on, and it's going to be amazing. So as we wrap up today's episode, I just want to leave you with a thought. Every day is a new beginning. Every day is a new chance to start again. Don't be discouraged by what you haven't done already. Instead, pivot and try and fail and pivot and try and succeed and pivot. Do whatever you need to do just to keep moving. It's not about where you've been. It's about where you're going and the steps you're taking to get there. So what's one small step that you can take today towards your new beginning? Think about it, commit to it, and take action. Seriously, you've got this. We've all got this. I'm going to commit to it. I'm going to commit to my race, and I'm going to commit to getting back on track, whether that be running outside or pulling out the treadmill when I can't get outside because the weather's crappy or because it's gotten too dark. So what are you going to commit to? Thank you again for joining me on today's episode. If today's message resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us comments. And until next time, keep thriving, keep growing, and above all else, remember that I believe in you and you can manifest the life of your dreams.